Hello and welcome to Hexed Encountered. I'm Joe. It is Solo Sunday, and it is time for part 2 of our playthrough of the game Viva Mexico, the Mexican Revolution. This is from White Dog Games and is designed by David Kershaw. I did a video on part 1, which covered scenario 1, which was kind of an introductory scenario. Did not feature all the nuances here or mechanics in this game, but we'll see some more of those here in part 2, scenario 2. And scenario 2 is titled Orozco's Rebellion. Now, in part 1, we played as the rebel forces, but here in scenario 2, we will be playing as the government forces. So we're swapping sides here. Now, the titular character here is Orozco, and he's right here. So he's the main guy for the rebel forces. Our victory conditions will be the scenario ends immediately when Orozco is removed from the map. Immediately means in this case that we do not finish any other moves left in the turn. We don't upgrade any conscripts. We do not roll for Orozco's fate. And depending on when we do that, from turn 1 through 4 will earn us 2 victory points. We did earn 2 victory points in the first scenario. 5 or 6 would be 1 victory point. Turn 7 or 8 would be 0 victory points. In turn 9 we lose and Orozco becomes president of Mexico. So that is our victory condition. It's pretty easy. Down here at the bottom of the map, you can see we've got Huerta here and Robles here. So Robles is in Cuernavaca and Huerta is in Mexico City. So you have to go by initiative rating. Now both Robles and Huerta are at 2 and Salas in Torreon, he is a 0, so he would go last. And I'm able to choose which one of these we want to do. Now they're both in a town, so you would use this area right here. We can do nothing, move to the countryside, initiate combat if an enemy is present. If there's no enemy, we can move to a town or move to another region. So you can do rail movement. And we didn't use rail movement in the first one, so let's talk about that. So it cannot be done if the countryside of the starting location contains enemy. That's not the case for either of these. We can move any number of regions connected by rail. Units can be dropped off along the way. Final destination can be either the countryside or a town unoccupied by either the enemy or a friendly general. Rail travels halted by an enemy-occupied town on the line or an enemy-occupied countryside. So if we move a little further north here, so shooting a little further north, we can see Zapata is here in Nayarit. And so we're going to send, let's see, Robles has a 122 recruit, and he has Rurales here, Huerta. So we're going to move Huerta, and he's going to use the rail line that goes through Mexico City, and we can just trace it. And he'll go through Leon and Guadalajara and come up here into the countryside of Nayarit because he can't go right to the town since Zapata is there. And when you do that, move to another region, you can't initiate combat. But we have now moved up there so that we are in place to potentially initiate combat. Now with Robles, we're going to take a different path. We'll go up to Mexico City and then over to Toluca through Leon, but instead of going to the west, we're going to continue north through Aguascalientes, Zacatecas, and then up further. And I will show the end result here. So as I mentioned, Robles came up here. He's through Aguascalientes. Then we got Zacatecas and Torreon up here, then Durango, or we could go further north towards Chihuahua. What we're going to do actually is we're going to stop here in Durango. Put that right there. So now we have a general and 2 units here that I could then use maybe next turn to stage a move here into Sinaloa, which has enemy units or rebel units in these 2 areas. We also want to get up here, which is currently off shot, to the location of Orozco, because as already mentioned, if we can take Orozco out, that will enable us to then win the scenario. Okay, so that was the moves for those 2. Now we have Salas, right? And Salas is here in Torreon. So Torreon is in Coahuila, and we can move that We can move him. Let's leave our conscripts here in the town. We're going to move him into, because this is Coahuila, we're going to move him here and put him with these conscripts here in the countryside. Now, they've got a really good defense. Well, actually, the defending in the town for them is only a 1. So we're going to potentially attack there. But since we moved, we cannot attack this turn. But what we're going to try to do here is we've got Robles here, and he's going to go through Sinaloa towards Sonora. And then we have Salas here, who can also go to Sonora through here, and he can actually link up with these rurales, and then they'll be able to attack Orozco. Now, Orozco can also move once we get to the enemy movement phase. So now we'll go to reinforce. So the player reinforcement phase, we get 2 replacement points, and government forces can conscript in any town free from the enemy for 1 point, or put rurales on a force in the countryside for 2 points. Now, I don't think I have any rurales left. Oh, I do have one. So perhaps we should do a rurales and put them in the countryside, and we're going to give them to Salas here. So he now has the conscripts and the rurales. Okay. Now, another thing that I didn't do in the first scenario is do a fight and then fight using conscripts who would then get promoted. So we will probably see that in this turn, or in this scenario rather. But now we're going to move on to the draw phase. So we have a cup with 4 counters in there that are upside down, so I couldn't see what they are. We pull one out. It is a rebel. It is De La O. Now, he was in there from scenario 1, and I just left him in there because I believe that's where he probably should go. Now, when you draw for the non-player force, you can see you've got a Z on there, right here. Kind of looks like a 2, but that's a Z. The 2 is over there. That's his initiative rating. So when that happens, you have to place him by die roll. And there is a random region table here. And you roll your die, 6-sided die. 1 through 6 will tell you where they go. You can see Z is your deployment zone, Zapatista. So you have various places they can end up going. So we're going to roll our die here. I'll just put this in here so we can see it. We'll roll the red die, and we get a 1 and a 1. For Zapatista is Michoacan. And Michoacan is, so it's in the south. So he's going to get placed in the countryside there in the south, which is actually a dangerous area for them because we don't have a lot of forces in the south. We moved everybody to the north. So if you're curious where that is. All right. So now we'll move to the enemy or the non-player move phase. So the non-player, oh, wait, I screwed that up. The non-player move phase was supposed to be before the draw phase. So we're going to hold him off, and we'll put him on after I do this because I screwed that up. So our non-player move phase, now this is, again, something we didn't do in scenario 1, so I'll go a little bit more in depth on this. So this is where non-player side moves and attacks with their generals. Each general only moves and maybe attacks once. If the non-player side has no general, skip the phase, which is what we did in scenario 1. First, generals in any region containing the enemy move and attack. So we do have some of that in various places, and Orozco is our highest initiative general, so we'll start up there. So we'll start up here in Sonora. The general is in the countryside. If the enemy is also in the countryside, if the general has equal to or more units, then the general attacks. He does. So he's going to attack. Now he's got a total. He has the Loco, and for the combat procedure, Loco, assets go first. Loco removes the general on a 1, asset on a 1 or 2, unit 1, 2, 3. Well, the enemy doesn't have anything but a unit, so we're going to roll our die, and if we roll a 1, 2, or 3, the unit's eliminated. And we got a 4, so the unit is not eliminated. Okay, so Loco is done. And we remove it from the game. So it's a one-time use kind of thing. So it goes out. Now we will continue here. And our next step is artillery or machine gun, which we don't have. So the assets are done. We move on to the forces hitting in initiative order. So force in a town, we don't have that. The total strength of the units. Now they are in the countryside, so the defender uses their bottom value, which is a 2. So their value is a 2. And the attackers get 3, 6, and 1 for their general, gives them 7. So they have the higher initiative and will roll first. Oh, I screwed that up. So it's not attack strength that determines the initiative. It's actually the force with the higher initiative will hit first. Units without a general have initiative of 0 in the countryside. So theirs is a 0. And units with a general have the initiative of that general in the countryside. So that's a 3. So they have the higher initiative. So now we would roll. Now you total the attack strength of all the units. So they have a hit roll total of 7, which is greater than 5. So if it's 5 or less, you roll 1d6. If it's over 5, you roll 2, but you roll them separately. So what we'll do here is, and then the defender has a hit roll of 2. So you have to roll equal to your number or less. So unless they roll a 6, that unit is going to be eliminated. And they rolled a 6. So that's their first roll. Now on their second roll, they have to roll a 2 or less because that's what's left over. And they got a 3. So they actually do no damage. Now we'll roll the green die for our government forces. They need a 2 or less, and they got a 1. So they get to eliminate one of the units. So each hit eliminates one enemy. See above for elimination order. Eliminated units are removed from the map. So we are attacking in the countryside. Okay, and those are rurales. So we're going to remove one of the cavalry for the rebels, of course, which actually helps the government a great deal there. Now, if we had rolled a 2, we would have had 2 hits, and that would have eliminated both cavalry and left Orozco alone. But that's not what happened, so we're going to move on. So that is their first unit. So now we will look here. Well, he's a 0. So our next, in terms of initiative, is down here with Zapata, who's a 2. Now, he also has a unit in the countryside. So we have a general in the town. If he has 1 or fewer units stacked with it, he has 1. So the general will take no actions. So he's going to hang tight. All right, so that brings us back up to Chihuahua here with Gomez. He's also in a town and also only has 1 unit with him, so he will also take no action. So now we'll put our drawn unit out. So we've got De La O. He goes to Michoacan, which again is right here. As you can see, he's in the countryside. They've already completed their move, so he doesn't get to move anywhere right now. So after the draw phase, we go to the non-player reinforcement phase. So this is a rebel. They're the rebels. So they also get 2 reinforcements. Let me check the scenario rules to make sure there's nothing special. I screwed this up too. Special rules, Orozco uses Loco Loco in his first combat involving an enemy general. I'm going to give him his Loco Loco back, and he won't use it yet. So he'll use that when he faces an enemy general, which will be coming up at some point, not too far in the future probably, because we're probably going to move Salas in there next turn to try and take care of that. But I don't see anything special about reinforcement. So non-player reinforcement. Let's get our thing here. Player is the government. First reinforcement, or non-player is rebel rather, sorry. General with the most units, but less than 4 in total. Okay, so he's going to get, he's in Sonora, so he's going to get a cavalry. 1 point for that. So here's a cavalry unit, and he gets his cavalry back. So you see why this could be a little bit tougher, right? We already knocked one out, but he just got it right back. And it's off shot, I know, but I put it back with Orozco. So he now has Loco Loco and 2 cavalry, just as he did when we began. Second reinforcement, general with the least units. Okay, so we have 2 that are tied. So general in town gets a worker. So our other 2 generals, actually no, we have De La O, who does not have any units, so he's at the bottom. He's in the countryside, so he's going to get a 2/1/1 peasant, which is this guy right here. So we're going to put him with de la O. And now we move on to the end phase. And so for the first time, we're going to actually have to deal with the end phase as it applies to people in exile and or in prison. So you can see we've got dice here, right? So for our exile, the Magone brothers here, if we roll a 5 or a 6, they go back in the cup. If we don't, if we roll a 1, they go to prison. So we will roll, and we'll roll a green die for our government here. And we got a 6, which means they go back in the cup. So I've thrown them in the cup. And now we move on to the prison box. And the prison box, 5 or 6, will go to exile. 1 will go to dead. So we'll roll first for Felix Diaz. He rolled a 1, so he's going to the dead box. Now we'll do Reyes. And he also rolled a 1, so he also goes to the dead box. So that's not good for the rebels. Or the government, rather. Oh, wait, those are neutrals. Those are neutrals. Okay. So those are neutrals. Now, any other thing in the end phase is neutral units and generals attack. We don't have any out currently, so we don't have to worry about that. And now we go to the next turn. So we will move our turn marker to 2, which is off shot. So you'll have to take my word for it. We move to turn 2. And we're going to continue. So we go back to the start, and we go to the player move phase. And our player move phase for this time, we have to go in order of the initiative. So we have here Huerta. So what I might do is just move him here to Jalisco, because from here I'm going to move him into Michoacan to try to take care of De La O. Because in a campaign game, I want to keep in mind that this is not the end, and I want to try and set things up. Although I think in scenario 3 we play as the rebels again. Scenario 3, you control the rebels, yeah. But I'm not going to try and soft sell it. I'm going to try to play this like I was just playing this scenario. And I guess it really doesn't matter if I left him alone, only because, I could attack Zapata in the town. He's got a town defense of just 1. Defending ability, rather, of just 1. Well, it's 2 with him, and their initiative would be a tie, which would also go to the defender, so they would get to roll first. I'm starting to rethink this here. Actually, no. We need to take care of Orozco. So whatever De La O does, he does. We're going to move from Nayarit countryside to Sinaloa countryside. And we can't initiate combat. And you got to keep in mind, these are large areas, so it wouldn't necessarily be, a lock that they would actually fight each other. So what we'll do next is let's have Salas attack here in Chihuahua. We're going to have him attack the town. Okay, so what we're going to do is we're going to, move Robles here. And he was going to move into Chihuahua. We'll put him right there. So that next turn, he can either reinforce here or attack there, which doesn't really matter all that much, but just in case. Then Salas, we're going to move him here and have him join with these Morales so that we have more... we have a more significant force here to take on Orozco. And now Orozco will use his Loco in the next combat because there is an enemy general available. And that completes the move phase, so we go to the reinforce phase. And so again, the player reinforce phase with government forces, we can take a conscript in any town free from the enemy. so that would cost us 1. Or we can take a ruralis on a force in the countryside. I might be out of rurales now, actually, looking at what I have. So I think what we'll do is we'll take a conscript. Yeah, we'll take a conscript, and we're going to put him in Hermosillo, since that's a town that is free of enemy forces. And that's 1, and then we can do another one, and I'm going to put the other one in Morelia. And that would be the, whoops, I'll show you where that is. It's here in Michoacan, to help protect that town from De La O. So now we would go to the non-player move phase. So again, we're going to start with Orozco up here. Okay, so now again, looking at the order matrix essentially for that, we have to, for generals in the countryside, if the enemy's also in the countryside and the general has equal to or more units, so he has 3 units because Loco Loco is an asset, and he has 1, 2, 3, 4. Well, he has 3 units and he has 2 units, I guess, is how you really should count that. So equal to, or so he has less. If the general has fewer units than the enemy, if the general has 1 or more units, roll a d6. If this rolls equal to or less than the general's initiative, which is 3, then the general attacks. On a roll of 5 or 6, then the general moves with all his units to a random adjacent region as above. So we're going to roll our die here. I'll put that down out there. We're going to roll our red die. And you only need 1 die for this game, but I roll red for the enemy and green for the one I'm playing as. He rolled a 5. So a 5, the general has 1 or more units. On a roll of 5 or 6, the general moves with all his units to a random adjacent region as above. Okay, so there's only 2 options here. You have Sinaloa and Chihuahua. So I'm going to roll and we'll say even will be Chihuahua and odd will be Sinaloa. It is even, so he's going to move to Chihuahua. Now, if there had been an open town, he would move right into the town. But there are enemies in the countryside, so he will just move there. So now we will continue our non-player turn. We have down in Nayarit, we have Zapata. So he is in a town, and he has 1 or fewer units, then he takes no action. So, and De La O now, he's in the countryside. So if the enemy's also in the countryside, if there's no enemy in the countryside, the general may attack an enemy-occupied town. So that would be this one right here, Morelia. So if the general has equal to or more, then the general attacks. So he's going to attack. So the defender is a 1, the attacker is a 2, and their initiative is a 2. Their initiative is a 1 for being in a town, so they will go first. Let me put my dice tower out here. And we're going to roll. So their attack strength is 2 plus 1 for the general. It's a 3. And they rolled a 2. So that will eliminate the conscripts, and they do not get to fire back. They're just eliminated. And De La O moves into the town and now occupies it. And then we would go Zapata past. So we did De La O. The next would be Reyes, who's in a town. And is there an enemy in the countryside? Yes, but the general in a town, if the general has 1 or fewer units stacked with it, the general takes no action. So up in Chihuahua, this is where Gomez is located. You can see right there. He's not going to take any action. So that ends their phase. We go to the draw phase. Pull one out, and we get a Bandidos. Okay, so the Bandidos comes out. Now the Bandidos has to be placed. So just like generals, neutral forces, which are bandidos and indigenas, which would be like the Indians, I suppose, they get a roll to determine where they go. So we'll put the dice tower out. We'll roll our red die. We get a 1, and a 1 for bandidos is Sonora. So that would be up here in the corner. We'll put them right there so you can see them, but that is Sonora right there. So now we have some neutral forces in there who act essentially as enemy forces to either side, I believe. Neutral units, yeah, are placed with neutral generals. If there's one present in the countryside, there is not. So they don't have any neutral generals out. There is neutral general in the cup. That would be Magon. So now we would go to the non-player reinforcement phase. And so the non-player's rebel. So our first one goes to the general with most units, but less than 4 in total, which of course is Orozco. So he is in Chihuahua and will get cavalry. So he's getting a highly mobile, powerful force here. He's got 3 cavalry units now. And our second one goes to the general with the least units. Now we have a tie here, a 3-way tie. So general in a town would get a worker. So I assume we get to choose between Zapata and De La O. So we will go with Zapata right here. So we're going to put this worker unit, which is a 1-2-1. So he defends but at a 2 in a town, and his attack's a 1, and his defense in countryside's a 1. So that's a good unit for holding a town there. So he'll sit right there. Those are our 2 reinforcements, which means we go to the end phase again. Now we no longer have anybody in exile or prison. We do have 2 that are dead, so we don't have to do anything with those guys. So we don't have to worry about it. So now we go back and let's go up to the north to figure out what we're going to do as we start turn number 3. So the problem that we're going to have here is a division of labor, so to speak, in terms of who gets what. So let's take Robles here. And he doesn't have a lot of firepower. His total attack rating is a 2. But the cavalry, yeah, that's rough. They defend at a 2 as well. So that's going to be a defense of 7 against attack of 2. But that's still better odds than the attacking at the other odds. So they will also have initiative because they have the higher initiative rating. So we're going to do an attack here because I feel like we almost have no choice, really. And we're going to let they're going to go first because they have initiative. And again, their defense rating is 2, 4, 6. They will use the Loco because they are facing another general. So let's put that one out. So the Loco, as we saw before, we roll and they kill a unit on 1, 2, or 3. They kill a general on 1. So they rolled a 6. Again, with a bad roll. So the Loco does nothing and it goes away. And now we'll just do the normal defense rating, which in this case is a 7. So they're going to again get 2 die rolls. A 5 or less on the first roll will eliminate a unit, and then the second roll they will need a 2 or less. They rolled a 3, so I think a 3 in this case eliminates 2 units and the general, if I'm not mistaken. And yes, that is correct. So these 2 will be eliminated. We have to roll for our general's fate. And we got a 1, and a 1, unfortunately, is dead box. So he goes to the dead box. So Robles has been killed. And that is the end of that move, of course. Now we have Huerta here. He's going to move in. And actually, let me think about this. You know what? We're going to stay in Sinaloa. And I'm actually going to attack these peasants in the countryside. So we're going to attack the peasants in the countryside. here in Sinaloa. Let's slide this up so you can actually see what I'm talking about. So we're going to be here. And so they don't have a general, and they're in the countryside, so they don't get any initiative. Their initiative is 0. So the government gets initiative. It's a 2 against a 1. So we need a 2 or less, and we got a 1. So that will eliminate this guy. So that's one less unit they've got out there. And now we will, so they're done. And now let's go up to Sonora. Now this is my strongest unit. We have Rurales, 2 Rurales and a conscript. So we're going to move these guys here into Chihuahua, which means they will attack us. But our defense is going to be a 5 plus 1 for the leader is a 6. So it's going to be a good one. And we may be able to whittle his forces down, hopefully. So that completes the move phase. And we go to the reinforce phase. So again, we can spend conscript in any town free from the enemy is 1 point. So let's put a conscript here in Sonora for 1. And then our other one, we will put a conscript in, we'll put it in Ciudad Juarez. Okay, so that completes that. Now we go to the non-player move phase as I drop my die and it rattles around on the floor. Okay, so it is the non-player move phase. So we start with our highest initiative, and that of course is Orozco, and he is going to attack here. So as mentioned earlier, they have a defense rating of 5. Their initiative is 0. Their initiative is 3. So they will go first. Their attack is a 9. And they already used Loco Loco, so they don't have that advantage any longer. So they get 2 rolls, one of which will be a 5 or less, and the other one of which will be 4. So this could be really bad for the government because they do get to go first. So we'll put our dice tower out. We will roll. A 6 is a miss. A 5 or less will be that number of hits. If it's 4, then he's going to wipe out the government forces. And it's a 5. So he wipes out the government forces. Now we'll roll our green die. And we got another one, which means Salas joins Robles in the dead box, and their 3 units are eliminated. And yeah, that's pretty bad. So I think this game is drawing to a loss right now because I just don't have enough. I don't have enough, man. I'm not even sure what's left in the cup to draw out that might help me. But okay, so Zapata would go next. And Zapata down here in Tepic, he's got 2 units with him. So any general in regions with no enemy units may move. General in a town, if he has 1 unit or if he has 2 or more, will move with all assets and half his units to attack. His best units for attack. To the closest region with an enemy in it. So he's going to take 1 of his 2 workers and move to Sinaloa. Okay. And then De La O has no units with him, but there is an adjacent here, but he only has 1, so he will sit tight. He's going to be eligible for a reinforcement, however. If we take a look at him down here, he only has 1 unit, so generals with 1 unit in a town just sit tight. So we are setting up here for Zapata to take on Huerta, which is the last government general. And at this point, basically, the writing's on the wall and the government is going to lose this scenario, but we'll finish out this turn and then probably wrap it up. And then if I do a part 3, it would probably just be starting scenario 3. So let's continue on. We'll do our draw. So let's draw. There's 3 chits left in here. And we get the Magone brothers, and they go up here with the Bandidos. Okay, and then we go to the non-player reinforcement phase. So that's going to give Orozco a 4th Cavalry. And that's going to give a worker to De La O down in Michoacan. I won't move the map. You can take my word for it. And that is going to end the turn. We do not have anybody in exile or prison. We only have people in the dead pile. And that is the end of turn number 3. And I am going to end the game here because Huerta is the only one left. Orozco's got kind of a death stack going. So even assuming Huerta beats Zapata and survives that attack, it's still going to be, I mean, he's rocking a Rurales, which isn't a bad unit. But it's not great either. So I'm not sure if it's worth it to continue here or not, to be perfectly honest. Let's do one more turn. We're going to do one more turn. And we'll see what happens with Huerta here. So in terms of Huerta, let's... oh, I forgot. In the end phase, we have to do our neutral attacks. So the neutral attack at the end phase... neutral units in the countryside of a region will attack any single enemy force. Note they cannot attack a town if there's one enemy force in the countryside. So they can attack a town. They will attack the enemy force with the least units. So these guys have 2 units up in Sonora. So let me move this down so you can see it. So here we have Sonora. Here we have our Magone brothers and their Bandidos, who have an attack rating of 2, so they will attack. Now, they get a 1 initiative for being in the town, even though they don't have a general, and they have a 1 initiative. So ties go to the defender in this case, and the defender gets to roll first. So their rating is a 2, and the Bandidos rating is 3. So let's roll this. It's a 3 because they have a leader. They rolled a 5, so they do nothing. And now we'll roll the red for our Bandidos. 3 or less. It's a 3. They kill both of these. And the bad luck for the government continues as they get wiped out there. And the Bandidos under the Magone brothers have taken over Hermosillo in Sonora. All right. Now we can end the turn and go on to turn 4. And so the first thing we will do here is we're going... Oh, man. This is crazy bad. The only good news is Orozco can't draw any more reinforcements. So we're going to take our Huerta and his Rurales here, and we're going to move them to Durango. And we'll stop there. And that's all we can do. Then we'll go to reinforcements. So our reinforcements, we can conscript in any town free from the enemy. So we'll take 2 more conscripts. We can snag here, and we're going to put them both with Huerta here in Durango. And then we will go to the non-player move phase. So we'll start up here with Orozco. And he is in the countryside of, I think he will attack let's slide this down. He's going to attack the city of Ciudad Juarez here, because that's what he would do in this case. So he, again, has their initiative is a 1, his is a 3, and he's got a 12 attack. So he's going to get to roll 3 dice. And this is probably going to end up eliminating them. So we'll just roll the first die. It's a 2. So that kills both units. And that moves them into the town. Okay. So that was easy enough. Now Zapata has 1 unit. He's in the countryside. He's down here in Sinaloa. So what he would do, based on being in the countryside, if there's no enemy in the countryside, then the general may attack an enemy-occupied town. Generals that are in regions with no enemy units may move. So in the countryside, which is where he is, the general with no units, general with one or more units moves with all its units' assets. General moves to the closest region with the enemy in it, but there's no combat, right? So he's going to move here into Durango. And then De La O is going to move as well. And he's going to move up to Guadalajara, or Jalisco, rather, to be adjacent to Guadalajara. All right. And that ends their movement. And we have two counters left. We'll draw one out, and we get the other bandit or neutral counter. And the indigenous. So neutral unit is placed in the countryside of the regions, stacked together as a single force. If there is one present in the neutral units are placed with neutral generals if one is in the countryside. So our neutral general is actually not in the countryside. So I'm going to roll here to see where our indigenous go. It's a 5, and for them, the 5 is Puebla, is all the way over here below Hidalgo, right here. We're just going to stick him out in the countryside there. Now we go to the non-player reinforcement. So non-player is the rebels. Select the general with the most units but less than 4. So that would be De La O, because he's supposed to leave one there. So we have 2 and 2. So we roll a d6. Okay, if the roll is greater than the number of rebel generals in play on the map, then place a cavalry on the general. This means no second reinforcement. Otherwise, place a 2-1-1 peasant or 1-1-2 if there are no 2-1-1s available. All right. So we're going to roll, and we'll do Zapata first. And he rolled a 5, and that is higher, so Zapata's going to get a cavalry. Like, they need more power here. The rebels are romping all over the place on us here. So here in Durango, Zapata now has a peasant unit and a cavalry unit. And because he got a cavalry, there means no second reinforcement, because they have to spend 2 to put one because it's not in Sonora or Chihuahua. And now we go to the end phase, and we have neutral units in the countryside of a region will attack any single enemy force. So indigenous can attack even without a general. Down here in Puebla, we have a 1-1-1 in a town, so they're going to actually get initiative because they're in a town and they don't have a general, so their initiative is a 0. So let's do our die roll here. The government gets to go first. They have a 1, so probably nothing going to happen. They need a 1 to kill. Anything else is a miss. And look at that. They got a 1. So that removes these guys. That ends that. They don't get to fire back. So that actually worked out okay. Once again, we have nobody in prison or exile. You can see we're on turn 4, and we're going to end here because I feel like the government is in an untenable position and will not be able to win this. With 3 rebel generals on the map and Huerta not really having much in the way of forces. Having both Robles and Salas be dead as opposed to being in exile or in prison really is a problem, because from prison or in exile you have a shot at getting back into the cup and getting back into the game, but that is not the case here. So that will do it for this one. I know I messed up some stuff, but hopefully not too badly. And I think the stuff I caught I mentioned, but otherwise, yeah, feel free to questions, comments, etc. as always. Greatly appreciated. I do appreciate also you guys taking the time to watch. If you would consider liking, sharing, and or subscribing to help grow my channel, that is always greatly appreciated. And if you are a subscriber, as always, thank you very much for your support. But that's it for this one. Not 100% sure yet if there'll be a part 3. There may be. But if not, there'll be something else. So 1 week from now, Solo Sunday will roll on. with either part 3 of this game or potentially a different game. But either way, hope you'll come back. We're done. I'm Joe. This is Hex Encountered. And until next time, as always, happy gaming.